Sebastien Lecornu has officially taken office on a day of anti-government protests across the country. The former defence minister replaces François Bayrou, who was ousted in a confidence vote on Monday after struggling to get support for his proposed budget. Lecornu is the fifth prime minister appointed by President Emmanuel Macron in 2 years. Credit ratings agency S&P warns that the appointment of a new prime minister does not solve France's fiscal problems. Shock horror, whoever is at that agency deserves a pay rise. Bleeding obvious. It is due to review its rating in November, while fellow ratings agency Fitch, and this is what was pointed out to me one of our correspondents, Tom, earlier in the week, said Fitch is doing it tomorrow, so that will be very interesting. Both hold negative outlooks on France's AA- rating amid heavy government spending and with the country's debt to GDP ratio in excess of 110%. Any potential downgrade could lead to a new round of bond selling, potentially. Now, Charlotte joins us with more. Charlotte, first thing I checked, Lecornu still has a job, so that's fine. But I was doing a little bit of work on bloquant tout. You love my accent, don't you? Block everything. Yeah, bloquant tout?
Bloquant tout.
Oh, oui, tout. Oui. Not too much emphasis on the second T. OK, bloquant tout. And this lot are just ridiculously myopic in what... I know people worry about their standard of living, but when you've got the far right joined by the left, the unions and the far left, so you've got two diametrically opposed forces joining forces together to bloquant tout. I'm sorry, it does not augur well for Lecornu.
No, there's certainly no honeymoon for these prime ministers. In that handover ceremony already yesterday, in parallel with all these protests happening across the country, around 200,000 protesters with big demonstrations in different cities. And there was some concern around this mobilization because it was kind of a spontaneous one that started on social media, kind of a little bit reminiscent on how the Gilets jaunes started. No official union, no spokesperson behind it, no official demand really. So there was some concern of how violent potentially these protests could become. So overall, despite some clashes, things remain relatively under control. There was a huge security presence, 80,000 personnel out there, and the interior minister saying at the end of the day that those who wanted to block the country failed to do so. But certainly a warning shot there for the new prime minister. There is a general strike on September 18th that all the unions have called for, so the challenges will continue. There is a discontent out there. Certainly when he spoke yesterday at his inauguration, the new prime minister, Sebastien Lecornu, said that the country needs a reset.
But I also say it, we will need significant breaks with the past. And not just in form, not just in method, but also in substance. No big speeches. Starting this afternoon, I will be meeting with the main political parties, and in the next few days, other political parties and the trade unions. And I will have the opportunity to speak to the French people soon.
So Sebastien Lecornu is starting consultation straight away today with different parties because, of course, now he has to put a budget together. That challenge doesn't go away. With a very fragmented National Assembly, he has to bring other parties on board. So he's starting the talks today. That has been the mission that the Élysée gave him in the communique itself, naming him as Prime Minister. They have to consult before forming a government. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But certainly tomorrow, a big day because there is a ratings review by Fitch. They, as you were saying in the introduction, they've had AA rating on negative outlook since October 24. The question of, the uncertainty going out there now. From most of the people I spoke to, they said they don't see a downgrade just yet, but certainly, something they're watching closely. Interestingly, from a note from City this morning, they said that now the negotiations are happening for the budget, the socialists could be coming on board. We know the small groups of socialists have been crucial in toppling the government Bayrou, and so it looks like Lecornu is more likely to talk to them to get some compromises. If that is the case, then that is a risk for downgrade. You think forming a government would be a good news, but actually that could be an extra risk for downgrade because socialists are pushing back the deadline for reaching the 3% for reaching the 3% of GDP target for the deficit. In the budget that they designed ahead of this nomination, they have that target at 2032. The current government had it for 2029. So there's added risk of pushing back some of the fiscal reform, the review of the pension reform as well. So this is a potential risk according to City. Before now, the Prime Minister starting these talks with all the political parties.